Thank you, Devin, for joining me on another entry of Talking Aloud. I think this is your first. Well, yeah, I know it's your first trip on here, and thanks for humoring me. We feature kind of new books that people have read, that people are either excited to talk about or interested enough to discuss either how much they didn't like it. I don't want to spoil anything about the book that you read, so maybe let's get it spoiler free. But we are discussing, and they'll see it in the notes on the Facebook post, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. So this is the same series of the whole universe that Hunger Games is in. So Hunger Games, and then Mockingjay, Catching Fire. I probably didn't say that in the right order. Whatever. All those are by Suzanne Collins. All those have to do with this world, this country called Panem. And then we've come back. I don't know how long it's been since those books came out. It seems like it's been like a decade. But this book is a prequel set decades and before Hunger Games. And if you see me look at my phone, I'm actually going to bring up our Facebook feed so that I can see if there's any comments or questions from the audience. Please chime in if you want to chit chat about Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Anyway, if you don't know about Hoopla, let me turn that audio down. Yeah. It was very unprofessional. So Hoopla, with your Edwardsville library card, you can go download 5 audiobooks a month, 5 books a month. There's whatever you want to format you want to pick. 5 total is your limit. So you can get ebooks, TV shows, episodes, all that stuff. But one thing that's on there, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, came on the release date, which is very exciting. So Devin, you've listened to it on audio. I guess since I've already had a very long-winded preface into this book, it's a prequel. You read the Hunger Games trilogy. How long has it been since you read those? Do you feel like you needed or do you wish you had a refresher before going into this?
So I was reading them as they came out. So the last one came out in 2010. So it's been 10 years since I have read it. And I don't think that you need to have read the original trilogy to read this book, but it definitely helps. And I wish that I had had a refresher because certain characters that appear I had completely forgotten about. And it wasn't until I dived a little deeper that I remembered that they were in the original trilogy and I had just forgotten.
Yeah. Do you think someone could just go in cold with this one and just start, having never read any of the other, because it's a prequel, having never read any of the other Hunger Games, just start here? What would they get out of it, you think?
You definitely could. There's not as much detail around the Hunger Games themselves. It's just kind of given that you've read the original trilogy and so you know how they function at a basic level. So there's not as much detail there. They don't really dive into that as much. So I think you could still read it and still enjoy it, but it definitely helps to have read the original trilogy.
Yeah, I read and listened to the 3 original books. I remember next to nothing. I didn't finish the movies. I watched the first movie, and I think that was it. So I remember not Professor Snow. Jeez, this is like Harry Potter. President Coriolanus Snow. And if you are a movie person, that's Donald Sutherland, if you want to figure out who that was. I just remember him being this, he's the head of this totalitarian government, so he's not so great of a guy, but he does have some redeeming, this is kind of spoiling a little bit of original trilogy, but he had some redeeming thing near the end of, the end of his arc in the stories. He's in his 80s in that original trilogy, and in this he's a teenager. Can you tell me a little bit about what he's like and what his story is here in the prequel?
Yeah, so he's 18 here and it's his last year of university, so I'll keep this as spoiler free as possible. So going into this, I mean, obviously if you've read the original trilogy, you know what he turns into, who he turns into. And so the whole time it's kind of a waiting game to see, okay, when is this shift going to take place? Because in this, I mean, there are glimpses of narcissism and this kind of aloof, thinks he's better than everyone else kind of personality that we see later on. But he's also a kid who has had a really, really hard life up until that point, who's struggled a lot, and who early on is just trying to do what he thinks is right, what he thinks is the best thing to do. And we see him change throughout the book.
So you think for someone who's a longtime fan of the series, who knows Snow well, does this giving any more redeeming qualities? Does this make it, because Snow, as you read along, of course I'm going to talk about Harry Potter again. Does this do anything?
More redeeming to understand what his life has been like, situations with suffered through during all of this. So I think it does definitely make him a more other way is still but you do, through the book, you feel a little bit more sympathy towards him. He wasn't always a monster, and there are reasons that he becomes the way that he is eventually.
Okay. I don't know if you picked up, we actually had some in-house Wi-Fi issues there, so some of that might have gotten lost. I don't know what the audience saw, but so he's fleshed out a little bit more. So we get some stuff somewhere spoiler-free that justify, what kind of person he turned into, and when we get to the original trilogy when he's in his 80s. I was curious, do we get any new characters in this book besides Snow that seem interesting in this? Are there any of note?
There are definitely some interesting new characters that we come across. The tribute that he mentors in the 10th Hunger Games is one of them. Her name is Lucy Gray Baird, and she is a very, very interesting new character. We also revisit Tigress, who is in the original trilogy. I had completely forgotten that she was in those books. So she appears in Mockingjay towards the end. And we vaguely know that she's related to him in that book, but there's never really any explanation beyond that. There's never any motive given. And she reappears in this as his cousin, and she's a very interesting character.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember that at all either. I'm sure some of our viewers are very, like, they're pulling their hair out because, like, oh, how do you librarians not know what this Hunger Games is all about? It's just been a long time. It's in one ear, you're out the other when I'm listening to audiobooks, and I guess in one eyeball, out the other when I'm reading. So
it's been a decade.
yeah. Only the audiobook is available on Hoopla. I don't think the ebook is on there yet at all. So in this audio experience, how's the narrator? I know that there was I can't think of the name. There was a female narrator that did the original 3, and especially in it's kind of the book's fault. The third one seems so melodramatic, the way it was, the material and the way it was narrated. How is this?
I really liked the narration, actually. So it's narrated by Santino Fontana, and he just perfectly captures Coriolanus Snow's personality. He's a sweet boy, but really he's also very, very self-obsessed and lived a life of relative luxury. And he captures that character really, really well. The kind of manipulative, but still trying to do the right thing. So I thought it was really well done. I actually really liked it. My only complaint was that there is a lot of music and songs in these books. and they're just kind of said word for word. So the only reason that I knew it was a song was because it would regularly say she began to sing. Otherwise, I would not have known. I would have just thought it was a really weird block of text.
Oh, so he's like, Sweet Caroline, bump, bump,
Yes.
touching hands, touching me, touching you. Yeah, that's pretty
Yes.
lame.
Yeah, so that was not my favorite part, but everything else is really well done.
Yeah, that's like kind of something you really need to do on those Lord of the Rings books. They all have lots of songs, and the narrators, I think if you ever get it right, you sing the whole Tom Bombadil song. Yeah, you got to
Yeah,
sing this. That's a
exactly.
bummer. I didn't. Man, yeah, you dock them another point for that one. So when we're talking about docking points and awarding stars, whatever, Goodreads, that's always the thing we go to. 5 stars is their, I don't know, their scale. What do you give this on your Goodreads?
This is a really hard one for me to rate because I feel like I have to rate the first part separately and then the last 150 pages separately. So overall, I would give it a 3 out of 5. I really enjoyed the first part. The last 150 pages felt a little rushed, and some of the motivations and the plot points just didn't work for me that well. So I enjoyed it overall, but the ending wasn't as well fleshed out as I wish it would have been.
So you want a longer book. I mean, I saw that this is like 448 pages, I think. So it is longer than I think any of the 3 originals. Maybe this should have been a separate prequel trilogy, you think? Or do you think there's gonna be another one that comes after this that falls before the first one, like more teenage?
I'm curious if there will be.
Can you tell me this without going too spoilery? When this book ends, is Coriolanus still a teenager, or does it shoot forward within this book for any
He's
period of
still a
time?
teenager. He is still
Okay,
18.
so they can just pick right. I didn't know. Some books that might even flash forward till he's 40 or what. I don't know.
Yeah, he's
I
still a
don't
teen
read.
at this point. So, I mean, it could possibly be that there's another prequel book after this. I don't know how well it would work, but it's possible.
Yeah. Okay, well, I don't want to spoiler any more than what I'm like kind of hinting at when I start talking, wanting to know more, because I am genuinely curious. You read another or listened to another audiobook recently, Sabriel by Garth Nix. Let's just talk briefly about that. Just tell me in an elevator pitch on this book, just a brief synopsis. What's this book about?
So it is a 18-year-old girl. She's away in another country at school, and her father, the Abhorsen, kind of sends a messenger to her, letting her know that he is in danger. And her father is a kind of necromancer. So she has to travel into this different country. It's called the Old Kingdom, where magic and evil are really common. And she has to try to find him and correct the wrongs that are happening there.
So it's fiction.
It is fiction.
Okay, not a true story, not real wizards.
Not a true story.
This sounds really just straight up fantasy, right?
Oh yeah, it is.
You think mentioned wizards. Yeah, I mentioned the word fantasy with Amanda. She's like, no, it's not fantasy. Speculative fiction. This sounds straight up fantasy.
This is very much fantasy, yeah.
So for Sabriel, for someone who hasn't read anything by Garth Nix, what are some similar authors or similar books that, if you like those, you'd like this? Can you think of any other read-alikes?
So it is a very unique book, and that's one of the reasons I enjoyed it as much as I did. And it is slightly tinted with nostalgia for me. So I would say if you like Tolkien, if you like Philip Pullman, His Dark Materials series, Tamara Pierce, Naomi Novik, Robin McKinley, Robin Haw, those would be some good authors to start with.
And Naomi Novik, you're referencing that one, the newer series, not the Dragon. You're not talking about Temeraire. You're talking about
her standalones.
Gosh, what was that called? Spinning Silver is the second one. The first one was called
Uprooted.
Uprooted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't care for that so much, but I loved the Temeraire series, which was a dragon series set in the Napoleonic War. but she is a great author. For some reason, those characters didn't grab me. But
There
so
there are some aspects of it that I think are similar to the standalones, but also her series. So it might be worth the read.
so Sabriel's been around a while. I remember the book, seeing it, 10, 15 years ago. Was there ever a sequel? Are there follow-ups to Sabriel if you want to read more, or is there other books
There
in the same
are.
universe?
There are. So there are 5 books total and 3 in the original trilogy. There is a new one that has either just come out or is coming out, and there was a prequel written as well.
Wow. Okay. So I know some people get very excited about, like, oh, if I like this book, there's a whole bunch more I can jump into. I was telling the man last time, I get really excited when I found out there's one entry, so I can read it. I'm like, okay, I put a bow on that. And I finished that. I for some reason I don't get excited about being able to read more. I know that's me just having some kind of weird completionist and feeling like I can just take the easy way out by just reading one and being done with it. Well, since we kind of have talked, you've talked about a couple similar books, kind of a young adult fantasy. Are there any other? Let's put you on the spot because I didn't tell you I was going to ask this. Just any other books that you want to recommend? Like, not on Hoopla, not on. I forgot to say, Sabriel is on Overdrive/Libby in audio form. So another book that you can use your Edwardsville library card to check out. But any other series?
Oh, there's so many good ones. That's the hard part. I would definitely say Six of Crows, that series.
Oh, Bardugo, Lee Bardugo.
Yeah, Lee
Yeah.
Bardugo. Those are
Mhm.
also really well done. A lot of great world building like these two. And yeah, that's one that I would definitely highly recommend. They're very well
Well,
written.
this is a J book, and I know you've recommended it to I know Gwen's grandson, but the Rangers Apprentice, are those good?
I haven't read past the first one.
Oh, okay.
So first one's good. I don't know
Hmm.
about the rest of the series, but it's probably well written.
Yeah. Well, I think if you can read like the Hunger Games stuff, I would recommend that the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik. I think that was really cool. That is a dragon whose egg is it's during the Napoleonic Wars. Is he a British commander? He intercepts this egg that's going from Imperial China to Napoleon. It's this gift. The egg hatches, a dragon comes out, and like typical dragon lore, the dragon picks its dragon rider, and it picks this sea captain from this British Navy, and then that's how it starts, and it's really cool. It's a really kind of good relationship between those two characters: the dragon, who's a sentient talking dragon, and then your kind of weathered sea captain. Did you ever read or listen to any of those?
I haven't yet, and I love
Yeah.
dragons, so I really
Okay.
need to I really need to get on that.
They're. I think they're great. At the same. I say that having only read the first three. Those first three are great. I don't know if they jumped the shark, so to speak. Um, they bought the movie rights. I think 15, 20. It's been so long. I don't know if it's ever being made. But Peter Jackson of Lord of the Rings fame, he bought the rights, or his studio did, for the Temeraire movies. It might never come
Yeah.
out, but in the meantime, you can listen to it or read it.
Yeah.
Oh. So Goodreads score. You got to pick a 1 to 5 on the scale. What score do you give Sabriel?
I would give it a 5 out of 5. So I really love the pacing of it. It is there's no fluff involved, which I really want out of a book. It's detailed when it needs to be, but it's also focused on we're telling a story. This is what's happening. Let's go. And within the first 10 pages, you're already off and on an adventure. And also, Tim Curry narrates the audiobook, and it is so well done. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, Tim Curry. If you're not aware, he's the guy that you're going to see in the movie Clue, Home Alone 2, but he's also really menacing in the movie Legend as the Lord of Darkness. He is the um, Pennywise clown and the made-for-TV It. So he's got a very like booming, rich voice. So yeah, I bet he would. I've never heard an audiobook narrated by him. I don't know if there's that many, but that sounds like he'd be really good for that. Any other thoughts you want to share on Sabriel or any other books you're reading?
Nope. I'm just making my way through the first Witcher book right now,
Oh.
so The Last Wish. So
Yeah,
so
and that
far,
is
so
on,
good.
what's that on?
It's on Libby, and it might be on Cloud Library. I'll have to double check, but it's definitely on
Yeah.
Libby.
Okay, Libby. If you go to the App Store on your iPhone, or if you have an iPad, if you have an Android phone or Google phone, that would be on your Google Play Store. If you search for Cloud Library, if you search for Hoopla, and if you search for Libby, those are all the apps that we can tie into with your Edwardsville Library card to get audiobooks and ebooks. If you don't want to do that search, like I just mentioned, just go to our website, edwardsvillelibrary.org. If you click the blue ribbon that says ebooks and more, they're all listed there. Log in each of those, enter your library card and your PIN number. If you need to reset your PIN, give us a call at 618-692-7556. But Hoopla, if you didn't catch the beginning of this and you're not familiar, you get 5 books a month. Well, it's currently 10. As of August 1st, we're putting it back down to 5 now that all of our browsing and interlibrary loan is up and running. It's more or less a monetary decision to bring it back down to 5, so we can perhaps bring it back up to 10 if we ever have to close all the way back down again. Hopefully not. So keep our positivity rate below 8%, and by doing this, oh, I'm sorry, I hit the microphone. That was hot mic. If you wear your mask over your mouth and nose, it's required if you come in the Edwardsville Library. If you wear it everywhere else, hopefully we don't have to shut down. So, any other closing remarks? Devin and I will probably be back whenever she finishes Last Wish, or if we want to mention any other Witcher news. In the meantime, you can read that book along with her. Actually, maybe you can't. If it's already checked out, you have to wait till she's done with it. With Hoopla, that's the wonderful thing about Hoopla. Everyone that's watching this can go download Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes right now. And we can all listen to it together. Just everyone out in the street, just roll your windows down and just crank up Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So make sure we're all synced up at the same time, so that way it has a good effect. Otherwise, it's just a cacophony. Anyway, Devin, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, come see us at the library. Wear your mask if you do. Otherwise, get on your computer, your iPhone, or your. I don't work for Apple. Use whatever phone you've got, but download Hoopla. Check out some of these books we're talking about. Until next time, thank you. Take care. Bye, Devin.
Bye.